Your body makes one of the most important fat-burning decisions of the entire day, long before you've counted a calorie, stepped into a gym, or even poured your first cup of coffee. In fact, before your feet even touch the floor, your metabolism has already started choosing a direction. One path tells your body to release stored fat and use it as fuel. The other tells it to protect that fat, especially the dangerous layer wrapped deep around your organs, which means your biggest fat loss mistake may happen while you're still lying in bed. That sounds almost unfair, doesn't it? Because most people believe belly fat is won or lost through discipline. They think it's decided by what they eat for lunch or how hard they push themselves on the treadmill. So they wake up every morning determined to work harder. They cut calories, skip dessert, force themselves through another workout, and celebrate when the number on the scale finally drops. But then they look in the mirror and notice something strange. Their face is leaner, their arms are smaller, their legs have lost definition. Yet that deep, stubborn belly still refuses to leave. If you've ever looked at yourself and wondered, why is my body burning everything except the one thing I actually want to lose? You're asking exactly the right question, because the answer has very little to do with motivation and almost everything to do with timing. Our countdown starts at minute 0. You're still lying in bed, eyes barely open. The room is quiet. It feels like nothing has happened yet. But inside your brain, one of the oldest survival programs ever written has already switched on. Scientists call it the cortisol awakening response. Despite everything you've heard, cortisol isn't your enemy. Without it, you wouldn't fully wake up, your brain wouldn't sharpen, your blood pressure wouldn't rise, and your muscles wouldn't prepare for movement. This response kept our ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Every morning, the nervous system asked the same simple question: is today safe, or could today become a fight for survival? The remarkable part is that your biology still asks exactly the same question. The problem is that evolution hasn't updated its software. It doesn't understand deadlines or social media. It can't tell the difference between a charging predator and a phone full of notifications. It only understands signals. And during the first few minutes after waking, every signal becomes another piece of evidence. Are we safe, or should we prepare for danger? The answer quietly shapes everything that happens next. But here's the strange part. None of this is actually storing belly fat yet. Imagine 2 different mornings. In the first one, your alarm goes off, and before you've even sat up, your hand reaches for your phone. A work email, bad news, and notifications. Within seconds, your attention is fragmented. Your breathing becomes a little shallower. You rush to the kitchen, drink coffee on an empty stomach, skip the daylight because you're already late, and your brain quietly reaches one conclusion: something isn't right. Stay alert. Increase cortisol. Now, imagine a completely different morning. You wake up, but instead of feeding your brain urgency, you give it certainty. You drink a glass of water. You step outside for a few minutes. You let natural light hit your eyes before a screen does. Nothing dramatic has happened. You haven't burned a single calorie, but you've already changed the hormonal conversation inside your body. And this is where your belly unexpectedly enters the story. Most people think body fat is just body fat. It isn't. The fat just beneath your skin and the fat surrounding your organs are almost like 2 different tissues with 2 different personalities. Visceral fat isn't simply stored energy. It's biologically active, and studies show it contains far more glucocorticoid receptors than ordinary body fat. Think of those receptors as thousands of tiny antennas, constantly listening for one signal: stress. The moment cortisol rises, visceral fat gets the message. But here's where the biology becomes unsettling. Cortisol isn't trying to make you gain fat. It's trying to protect the energy your brain believes you might soon need. And it doesn't stop there. Cortisol also sends instructions to your liver. If the body senses uncertainty, the liver doesn't wait for food to arrive. Through a process called gluconeogenesis, your liver literally starts making its own sugar while you're trying to burn fat. Blood sugar quietly rises. Your pancreas notices and insulin follows. And that's the moment almost nobody sees. Your body has just changed its metabolism before you've eaten a single bite. And just like that, your metabolism shifts away from releasing stored fat and back toward protecting it. Thousands of years ago, that response helped humans survive famine. And that's the frightening part. You haven't eaten or skipped the gym, You haven't broken your diet, but yet your body may already be preparing to defend the one type of fat you wanted to lose most. Our countdown has only reached the first few minutes after waking. At this point, your body has already made several important decisions, but none of them are permanent. The hormonal environment is still changing, constantly interpreting every signal you send. And that's why what happens next matters far more than most people realize. For millions of people, the next event is almost automatic. Coffee. Now, don't panic. Coffee isn't the problem. In fact, moderate coffee consumption has been linked to numerous health benefits. The mistake is drinking it before your brain has finished waking up. Here's why. While you sleep, a molecule called adenosine builds up inside your brain. Think of it as your natural sleep pressure. During the first hour after waking, your brain is already clearing it away on its own. Caffeine doesn't remove adenosine, it simply covers it up. Drink coffee too early, and you're interrupting a process your brain was already handling perfectly. The caffeine wears off, the hidden adenosine comes rushing back, and suddenly that afternoon crash feels far worse than it should. Most people respond exactly the same way. Another coffee, something sweet, another quick burst of energy. Without realizing it, they keep teaching their nervous system to stay on high alert, and that's what really matters. Not because coffee somehow switches fat burning off, but because your hormonal environment slowly shifts toward caution instead of abundance. Your metabolism doesn't stop burning fat. It simply becomes less willing to let it go. Biology rarely works like an on and off switch. It's much more like a dimmer. But coffee still isn't the strongest signal your brain receives that morning, which brings us to minute 10. For most people, the next signal comes from the same place, their phone. At first it seems harmless. One notification, one message, or one quick look. 5 minutes later, your brain has already processed work emails, breaking news, social media, and dozens of unfinished tasks before you've even finished waking up. Researchers in neuroscience call this cognitive load. Every new piece of information competes for your attention, forcing your brain to keep switching focus instead of settling into a calm, stable state. The strange part is that your brain doesn't care whether the threat is real. It doesn't distinguish between a charging predator and 20 unread notifications. It simply detects uncertainty. And uncertainty has always meant one thing: stay alert, stay prepared. Now, imagine teaching your brain the same lesson every single morning for the next 10 years. Now, let's change the lesson. Which brings our countdown to minute 15. This is where one of the simplest biological interventions becomes one of the most powerful. Step outside. Not because stepping outside burns calories or fresh air is somehow magical, but because your brain has been waiting for one signal above all others: light. Long before clocks existed, sunlight synchronized every biological process in the human body. Deep inside, your brain sits your body's master clock. Every morning, it waits for natural light to confirm that a new day has begun. Artificial lighting helps you see. Morning sunlight helps your brain organize time itself. Numerous studies have shown that early daylight exposure improves circadian alignment, supports healthy cortisol rhythms, increases daytime alertness, and often leads to better sleep later that night. That's important because healthy cortisol isn't supposed to stay high. It should rise early, then slowly decline. The problem isn't having cortisol. The problem is never giving it permission to come back down. Our countdown reaches minute 20. Now comes one of the most underestimated tools in human physiology: walking. Not because it burns a remarkable number of calories. It doesn't. Its real power is the message it sends to your brain. As you walk forward, the world moves smoothly past your eyes in a pattern neuroscientists call optic flow. For thousands of generations, that pattern meant something reassuring. We're moving, we're exploring, nothing is chasing us. Research suggests optic flow helps quiet the brain's threat detection system, allowing your nervous system to gradually shift away from a defensive state. Combine that with a natural morning light, and your physiology finally receives a consistent message: we're safe. Sometimes changing your metabolism isn't about doing something harder. It's about giving your nervous system a better reason to relax and sending your biology a better signal. By minute 25, your body is asking for something surprisingly simple: water. After 7 or 8 hours without drinking, you naturally wake up slightly dehydrated. Every breath during the night carries away water, and even mild dehydration has been shown to impair concentration, reduce physical performance, and increase perceived stress. Most people answer that signal with coffee, but coffee isn't hydration, it's stimulation. A simple glass of water before caffeine restores fluid balance before adding another layer of stimulation to an already active nervous system. It gives your body what it was asking for in the first place. And that's the bigger lesson. None of these habits magically burn fat. They simply remove small biological obstacles. When your survival system receives signals of safety instead of constant urgency, your metabolism becomes far more likely to do what it evolved to do naturally. Sometimes the biggest change doesn't come from adding something new. It comes from finally giving your body what it has been asking for all along. Minute 30 is over. Tomorrow morning, your countdown starts again.